So, have you ever found yourself just scrolling through YouTube and you stumble on these simple animated stories that are racking up millions and millions of views? They look like they're for kids, right? But what if they're actually a window into the core values we're all absorbing in this digital age? That's exactly what we're going to dive into today. It all kicks off with something simple, right? A single line of dialogue that just lands with this feeling of injustice. That one sentence, it's from a hardworking but poor student named Guru, and it lays the entire conflict right out on the table. We are instantly hooked. You can just feel how unfair it all is. And this one little story, it opens up a much bigger question for us. What can these modern fables, with all their magical twists and super clear plots, what can they really teach us about our shared sense of right and wrong? Well, to figure that out, we're going to break down two of them. Okay, first up, we're going to explore the very steep price of cheating and entitlement. And we're going to do that through the story of two classmates, Samita and Guru. This is a classic tale of shortcuts versus hard work, but trust me, it's got a seriously magical twist. What's so wild here is just how black and white these characters are drawn. I mean, Samita isn't just a cheater. She's rich, she's entitled, she's the daughter of the school's owner, and she even uses that power to threaten Guru. And Guru, he is the classic underdog, poor but brilliant and just unshakably honest. So right from the get-go, this isn't just about cheating on a test. It's a total clash of class and character. So when Guru finally stands up to her and says no, Samita's plan just takes this completely wild turn. She doesn't just, find a new way to cheat. Oh no, she escalates. Big time. She goes to his house, finds his grandfather's old, quote-unquote, magic potion, and she actually steals it. And her wish is just as crazy as the theft. She wants to be able to stretch her neck all the way across the classroom so she can copy his paper. This is a shortcut that's fueled by both crime and magic. And this is where the story's moral really clicks into place. The magic, which, remember, she stole for a totally selfish reason, it backfires spectacularly. The potion works, sure, but there's a catastrophic side effect. Her neck just keeps growing and she can't shrink it back. The very tool she used for cheating becomes the source of this massive public humiliation. So how does this all wrap up? Well, it's swift and it is absolute. Humbled, desperate, Samita has no choice but to go to the one person she wronged. And Gadu, being the hero of our story, gives her the antidote, but only after she makes a sincere promise to stop cheating and just do her own work. In the end, moral order is totally restored. She becomes his friend, and through her own hard work, she eventually earns first place honest. All right, let's switch gears to our second case study, where the themes get a little deeper. We're moving from a story about dishonesty to a story about bullying, isolation, and the incredible power of kindness. And this one is all about a young girl named Chicky. Chicky's world it's a tough one. She has a physical disability that makes it hard for her to walk. She comes from a really poor family, and on top of all that, she is just relentlessly bullied and ignored by her classmates. They call her cruel names, they refuse to play with her, and they leave her feeling completely, utterly alone. And then, right when she's at her absolute lowest point, something magical happens. A giant fly appears, but instead of being a pest, it speaks. It says, "I'm not here to bother you, I'm here to be your friend." And that is the crucial turning point. See, here, magic isn't a tool to be stolen. It just arrives. It shows up as a friend, offering help when it is needed most. And this friendship, well, it changes absolutely everything. The magic fly, who can change its size whenever it wants, starts carrying Chicky to school on its back. And suddenly, the girl that everyone ignored becomes the most fascinating person in the entire village. The very thing that made her an outcast, her trouble getting around, is now overcome in the most spectacular way you can imagine. Of course, the bullies just can't stand to see her happy. So they come up with this plan to capture the magic fly in a giant net. But in a classic Fable move, their mean-spirited plan totally backfires, and they're the ones who get tangled up in their own trap. Their cruelty leads them straight to their own downfall. But here's the real twist, and this is where the story's true moral just shines. Chicky, seeing her tormentors trapped, she has a choice. She could just walk away, right? She won. But instead, she shows them a kindness they never, ever showed her. She insists that the fly help free them. And it's this act of radical empathy that fixes everything. The bullies, they're so full of shame and gratitude, they finally ask to be her friend.
So let's get to the heart of this. How does the magic actually work in these two stories? Because it's not just that there's magic, it's how that magic gets used that really unlocks the deeper moral lesson.
And when you put them side by side, it's just so incredibly clear. For Samita, magic is an object, a potion to be stolen for selfish reasons. It's a shortcut, and it leads straight to punishment. But for Chicky, magic is a being, a friend who shows up and offers help freely. It's a source of empowerment, and it leads to the reward of community and real friendship.
So here it is. This is the logic that's really running underneath both stories. In Samina's story, magic acts like a cosmic judge, punishing a vice, in this case, dishonesty. But in Chiki's story, it's a force that rewards a virtue, her kindness and her resilience. In both cases, the supernatural is just there to amplify the core moral lesson.
Okay, so what happens when we step back and look at these two fables together? I mean, even though they tell very different stories on the surface, it's pretty clear they're operating inside the exact same moral universe.
Let's just break it down. Samita's problem comes from an internal flaw, her own arrogance, and her selfish act of theft leads directly to her humiliation. Chiki's problem is external, it's the cruelty of others, and her story is transformed by an act of friendship, which leads to her empowerment. The morals are really just two sides of the same coin. Value hard work over shortcuts, and use kindness to overcome cruelty. Simple as that. What's really fascinating about all this is that even in our super complex digital world, the ancient structure of the fable is still so powerful and really unchanged. You don't need moral gray areas or deep character studies here. The magic potion and the talking fly are just modern ways of delivering these timeless lessons about what it means to be a good person. And that leaves us with one last, really interesting question to chew on. You know, in an adult world that's so full of gray areas and complexity, what is the enduring appeal of these stories that paint morality in such stark black and white? Maybe their real power isn't just in their simplicity, but in their ability to remind us of those clear, foundational values we try to build our complicated lives on. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.